The Vikings, born of ice, fire, and endless horizons, emerged from Scandinavia's shadows. Their name would echo across Europe, inspiring both terror and awe. Forget the horned helmets. These were farmers, poets, explorers, and traders. Their longships would soon carry them far beyond their fjords. The Viking Age, spanning nearly 3 centuries, was a time of upheaval and ambition. To understand them, we must see past the myths and meet the people behind the legend. Driven by curiosity, survival, and the promise of a better life, they set out to change the world. This is their saga, one of courage, discovery, and transformation. Lindisfarne, 793. A peaceful dawn shattered by the arrival of sleek, dragon-headed ships. The Viking longship, swift, shallow, and unstoppable, became the symbol of a new era. These vessels could cross oceans and slip up rivers, striking anywhere, anytime. More than war machines, they were homes and lifelines for their crews. The men aboard were expert navigators, reading wind, tide, and stars. With the longship, the Vikings could raid, trade, and explore as no one before. Their arrival marked the true beginning of the Viking Age. The world would never be the same. Scandinavia's harsh beauty shaped its people. Norway's fjords, Sweden's forests, Denmark's fertile fields, all bound by the sea. Life was a struggle against the elements, demanding resilience and ingenuity. Summers were brief and frantic, winters long and unforgiving. Survival meant hard work, resourcefulness, and community. Norse myths and gods colored every thunderclap and whispering tree. Their world was one of fate, courage, and a constant gaze toward the horizon. The land forged a people always ready to venture beyond the known. Viking society revolved around family, loyalty, and reputation. Chieftains led through strength and generosity, not royal decree. Free farmers worked the land, women managed homes and wielded real authority. Even slaves or thralls could sometimes earn freedom. Honor was everything, won through deeds, kept by word. Feasts, stories, and lore bound the community together. Ambition and the hope of rising in status drove many to seek fortune abroad. In this world, glory was the surest path to immortality. By the late 8th century, pressure-mounted land was scarce, power struggles fierce. Younger sons and exiled warriors looked to the sea for opportunity. Tales of rich, undefended lands to the south fueled dreams of wealth. The longship offered escape adventure and a chance at greatness. Raiding was risky, but the rewards could be life-changing. Political upheaval and ambition pushed many to seek new beginnings abroad. The Viking spirit thrived on challenge and discovery. Thus began their journey into legend. The longship, sleek, flexible, and fearsome, was the Vikings' greatest weapon. Built with overlapping oak planks, it could weather the harshest seas. Powered by sail and oar, it was fast and versatile. Crews braved the elements, forging bonds of brotherhood on open decks. Dragon-headed prows struck terror and protected against evil. Life aboard was harsh, but it bred resilience and unity. The longship made the world their horizon. With every voyage, the legend of the Northmen grew. One of the most revolutionary features of the Viking longship was its shallow draft. While larger European ships had to stick to deep coastal waters, the longship could go almost anywhere, sailing up shallow rivers and launching surprise attacks on unsuspecting inland towns. The flat-bottomed hull allowed them to run their ships directly onto any sandy beach. The crew could leap out, weapons in hand, and form a battle line within moments of hitting the shore. While the sleekest versions were warships built for speed and raiding, other designs served different functions. The Gnar was a wider, deeper ship with more space for cargo. It was the Gnar that carried families to colonize new lands like Iceland and Greenland. For the people of Europe, the sight of a dragon-headed prow on the horizon became a symbol of impending doom. It was the perfect weapon for an age of raid and conquest. The Vikings' mastery of the sea extended far beyond their shipbuilding. Their skills as navigators were crucial to their success. Before compasses or GPS, they navigated vast oceans with astonishing accuracy, primarily using the sun. They used a sun compass, observing the shadow of a pin to determine latitude. When the sun was hidden, they turned to natural clues like seabirds and ocean swells. Knowledge was passed down through sagas, containing vital information about coastlines and winds. The sagas mention a sunstone, possibly a crystal that could detect the sun's direction even on cloudy days. This remarkable tool gave the Vikings a significant advantage. The Viking Age began with shocking violence in 793. The target was the undefended holy island of Lindisfarne, a center of Christian learning. For the Vikings, it was the perfect target. The attack was swift, brutal, and utterly devastating, sending a shockwave of fear. This raid set the pattern for what was to come. The Vikings were masters of the hit-and-run attack, their tactics based on speed and surprise. Their primary weapons were the long-handled axe, spear, and sword. The early raids focused on soft targets like monasteries, ideal treasure houses located in isolated coastal areas. They could strip a monastery of its wealth and be gone before any response. The people of Europe saw the Vikings as a divine punishment. The fear was as much a weapon as the axe, clearing the path for conquest. To understand the Viking raider, we must look at what drove him. Wealth was a primary motivator. A chieftain's power depended on his ability to be generous, rewarding followers with gifts. Raiding was the most direct way to acquire wealth and prestige. A warrior who returned home laden with plunder earned immense respect. He was seen as brave, cunning, and favored by the gods. Young men were raised on sagas of heroic deeds, aspiring to emulate legendary heroes. To die in battle could grant you entry to Valhalla. Raiding was also a seasonal activity. Many Vikings were farmers who would plant crops in the spring and then go a Viking. They saw the wealthy but poorly defended kingdoms of Europe as a resource to be exploited. Monasteries were simply an opportunity too good to pass up. To them, a golden cross was just gold. After the initial shock, the Viking raids grew. Fleets descended upon the coasts of England, France, and Ireland. They established fortified winter camps, launching deeper campaigns in the spring. These camps became bases to terrorize entire regions, demanding silver, known as Danegeld, to leave in peace. Viking fleets sailed up the Seine, the Loire, and the Rhine, striking at the heart of kingdoms. In 845, a Viking fleet laid siege to Paris, and Charles the Bald was forced to pay tribute. They attacked cities in North Africa and Italy. Swedish Vikings traveled down the rivers of Russia and Ukraine, journeying to the Black and Caspian Seas. They became the feared Varangian Guard. Kings adapted, building fortified bridges and forts. The Viking terror helped forge stronger kingdoms. The continent emerged, transformed, marked by the fury of the North. While sagas depict Vikings as fierce warriors, this is only half the story. The same man who wielded an axe could be a shrewd merchant. The line between raiding and trading was blurry. After years of raids, many Vikings realized peaceful trade was profitable and less risky. This shift was a natural evolution as they established settlements. They needed to supply them and find markets for their goods. They saw the world as a network of economic opportunity. Vikings were pragmatists who understood the value of goods. The warrior and the merchant were two sides of the same coin. The north was rich in furs, ivory, and amber. They were middlemen connecting different worlds. They became the great movers and shakers of the early medieval economy. While some Vikings sailed west to raid and settle, others turned their prows to the east. These were mainly Swedes, known to the peoples of the east as the Rus. They embarked on some of the most arduous and epic journeys of the age. They would drag their longships overland between river systems, pushing deep into the vast forested wilderness of what would become Russia and Ukraine. They followed the great rivers, the Dnieper and the Volga, on a perilous journey south. Their destination was the richest city in the known world, Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire, which they called Miklagard, the Great City. The journey down the Dnieper River was fraught with danger. The Rus had to navigate a series of treacherous rapids, where they were vulnerable to attack from fierce nomadic tribes like the Pechenegs. They would have to unload their ships and carry both their cargo and the vessels themselves for miles around the churning water. Yet the potential rewards were worth the immense risk. When they finally arrived at the Black Sea and sailed to Constantinople, they entered a world of unimaginable splendor. They marveled at the city's massive walls, its golden domed churches, and its markets overflowing with silk, spices, wine, and jewels from across the known world. The Rus traders brought their northern goods to these rich southern markets: furs, honey, wax, and tragically, slaves captured in the Slavic lands were their primary exports. In return, they received goods that were impossibly exotic back in Scandinavia. They acquired fine silks, intricate jewelry, glassware, and most importantly, silver. Huge quantities of Arab silver coins, known as dirhams, flowed north along these river routes. Archaeologists have discovered vast hoards of these coins buried all across Scandinavia and the Baltic, a testament to the immense scale and profitability of this eastern trade. This river of silver fueled the Viking economy back home. These eastern voyages connected the Vikings to a world far beyond Europe. By following the Volga River to the Caspian Sea, the Rus made contact with the powerful Islamic Caliphate. They traded directly with Arab merchants in cities like Baghdad, exchanging their northern furs for silver, spices, and scientific knowledge. An Arab diplomat named Ibn Fadlan, who met a group of Rus traders on the Volga in the 10th century, left behind a detailed and fascinating account of these strange, giant, and tattooed Northmen. His writing gives us a rare glimpse of the Vikings through the eyes of another culture, confirming their role as key players in a truly global trade network. While the Rus were forging paths to the east, their Danish and Norwegian cousins were building a vibrant trade network in the west. Their raids had given way to settlement, and with settlement came the growth of towns and markets. They founded or revitalized some of the most important trading centers of the era. In Ireland, they established the city of Dublin, which quickly became a bustling hub for international trade, particularly in slaves. In England, the city of Jorvik, which is modern-day York, became the capital of a Viking kingdom and a thriving center for artisans and merchants from across the North Sea world. These Viking towns were cosmopolitan places. The sounds of different languages would have filled the air as merchants from Norway, Denmark, Francia, and the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms haggled in the marketplaces. Archaeologists digging in the waterlogged soil of these towns have uncovered a treasure trove of everyday objects that tell a story of extensive trade. They have found silk fragments from Byzantium, pottery from the Rhineland, wine jugs from France, and amber beads from the Baltic. These towns were the melting pots of the Viking Age, where goods, ideas, and people from distant lands came together. The goods traded in the West were as varied as the people themselves. From England, the Vikings acquired wheat, woolen cloth, and silver. From Francia, they imported high-quality steel for their swords, known as Ulfberht swords, as well as fine wine and pottery. In return, they offered the raw materials of the North furs, timber, and iron. They also traded in walrus ivory and whetstones, those slabs of special rock from Norway used for sharpening tools and weapons, which have been found all over Europe. This constant exchange of goods created a deep economic interdependence between Scandinavia and the rest of Western Europe. This trade was not just about luxury items, it was about survival and daily life. The colonization of the barren, treeless islands of the North Atlantic, like Iceland and Greenland, was only possible because of trade. Settlers relied on ships from Norway to bring them essential supplies like timber for building, grain for food, and iron for making tools. In return, they exported woolen cloth, dried fish, and falcons, which were prized by European nobility for hunting. The Gnar, the sturdy Viking cargo ship, was the lifeline that connected these remote outposts to the wider world, proving that for the Vikings, the sea was always a bridge, never a barrier. The Vikings' spirit of exploration was fueled by a desire for freedom. Nowhere is this clearer than in their settlement of Iceland. According to the sagas, a navigator named Nadod was blown off course and stumbled upon a vast, uninhabited land. He gave the island its permanent name, Island or Iceland. For chieftains and farmers feeling the pressure of King Harald Fairhair, Iceland represented a tantalizing opportunity. Endless land, no king, and no taxes. The great settlement of Iceland began around 874 AD. Thousands of Norse people made the perilous journey to start a new life. Instead of a king, they established the Althing, an open-air assembly to make laws and settle disputes. The settlement of Iceland was a remarkable achievement and a testament to their pioneering spirit. Erik the Red, a Viking with a fiery temper, was exiled from Norway to Iceland for violence. Outlawed again in Iceland, Erik looked west for a new home. Around 982, he sailed with a crew to find a rumored landmass. He explored Greenland's coastline, finding fjords suitable for settlement. Upon his return to Iceland, Erik used clever marketing. He named the icy land Greenland to entice settlers. In 985, a fleet of ships set out for Greenland. The Norse established a colony that endured for nearly 500 years. They raised livestock and hunted. This remote outpost was a testament to Viking resilience and Erik the Red's ambition. The final chapter of Viking exploration was led by Erik the Red's son, Leif Erikson. Growing up in Greenland, Leif heard tales of land further west. A trader named Bjarni sighted a new coastline, flat and covered in forests. Around the year 1000, Leif bought Bjarni's ship and set out to explore these new lands. He came upon a barren land, which he named Helluland, likely Baffin Island. He then sailed south to a forested land, which he called Markland, thought to be the coast of Labrador. Finally, he found a sheltered spot where a river flowed from a lake into the sea. They discovered wild grapes growing, which led Leif to name this new territory Vinland, or Wineland. They built a small settlement and spent the winter there before sailing back to Greenland. Leif Erikson was the first known European to set foot in North America. The Vikings attempted to establish a colony in Vinland, but their efforts ultimately failed. Among Viking heroes, few are as legendary as Ragnar Lothbrok. It is hard to separate the man from the myth, as his story is woven from epic poems and sagas. He is portrayed as the ultimate Viking chieftain, a fearless warrior, a cunning strategist, and a relentless raider. The legends say he was a king of Denmark and Sweden who terrorized England and France. Ragnar's most famous feat was his daring raid on Paris. The sagas tell of him leading a huge fleet up the River Seine, capturing the city, and holding it for ransom. The legend of Ragnar's death is as famous as the stories of his life. Defiant to the last, Ragnar was thrown into a pit of venomous snakes. As he died, he prophesied that his sons would come to avenge him. He was the embodiment of the Viking spirit. His sons would become historical figures, driven by the legacy of their legendary father. The prophecy of Ragnar Lothbrok came true in 865. A massive Viking force, the Great Heathen Army, landed in East Anglia. It was an army of conquest, led by Ragnar's sons, including Ivar the Boneless. Their goal was to conquer the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms and settle permanently, escalating the Viking campaign. They overran Northumbria and East Anglia, capturing York and making it their capital. They threatened Wessex, the last Anglo-Saxon kingdom. Alfred, King of Wessex, fought a desperate struggle. In 878, he achieved a decisive victory against Guthrum at the Battle of Edington. This halted the Viking advance, saving his kingdom and earning him the title Alfred the Great. A treaty divided England, granting the Vikings control over the Danelaw. The Great Heathen Army had forged the foundations of a unified English identity. The Viking Age didn't end with a single battle, but slowly faded away. Europe had transformed. Kingdoms became stronger, learning from the Vikings. Powerful rulers in Scandinavia consolidated their authority, bringing stability. Ambitious young men found opportunities at home. The arrival of Christianity was perhaps the most significant agent of change. By the 11th century, the new faith had largely replaced the Old Norse gods. The year 1066 is often seen as a symbolic endpoint. Harold Hardrada invaded England and was defeated. William the Conqueror invaded and conquered England. The Vikings had become a part of the world they had once set out to conquer, their journey complete. Though the Viking Age ended, the impact of the Northmen was profound. They left their mark in DNA and language. From Normandy to Scotland and England, the Vikings settled, farmed, and married into local families. They changed Europe by becoming Europeans, leaving a biological footprint. Old Norse words were absorbed into English, like sky, leg, and law. Place names ending in by, thorp, or thwaite signal Viking settlements. The Vikings redrew Europe's political map, creating Normandy and influencing the Kievan Rus. They established cities like Dublin and York, catalysts for state formation. Beyond history, they left a legacy of craft, art, and storytelling. Their sagas offer a window into the Viking mind, preserving their values and view of the world. Centuries after their age ended, the Vikings continue to hold a powerful grip on our collective imagination. They have been romanticized and mythologized, often transformed into one-dimensional caricatures. The popular image of a savage warrior in a horned helmet is a persistent fiction. Vikings never wore horned helmets in battle. They represent a wildness and a freedom that stands in stark contrast to our modern, ordered lives. From epic Hollywood films and popular television series to video games and graphic novels, the Viking saga is continually being retold for new generations. The Viking has become a global cultural icon, a testament to the enduring power of their story and the universal appeal of their epic journey into the unknown. In the Vikings, we see a reflection of qualities we still hold dear: bravery, innovation, and an unquenchable thirst for discovery that pushes humanity forward. They were a complex and dynamic people who were both destroyers and creators. The saga of the Vikings will continue to be told, forever inspiring us with its epic scope and its timeless human drama.